to Living Confidently with MS. I'm Sonia Hankin, your host, and I wanted to do these shows, a series of shows on to teach people and help people on how to feel confident and love who they are with MS. And I've had MS since 2010, and it's been quite a journey, quite a ride. There's good days and bad days, and every day you have to really work on how can I love myself today with this illness, because every day I'm reminded that I have it because of different symptoms that I have that I live with that are chronic. So last week we got to, I had my good friend Renee here again. Thank you for coming back, Renee.
Yes.
Renee also has MS. She's had it for over, 20 years?
21 years.
21 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we covered some things last week, but there's so much more to talk about and that I want to give you as to how to help yourself, how to love yourself with MS. And last week we left off talking about one of the things that I realized for me anyways, and maybe you can relate and tell me if you don't, but when I was diagnosed with MS, first I was like, oh, I'm going to beat this thing, I'm going to heal myself, etc. And also it was like I felt like I had to do more. I had more to prove, because now it's like I have MS, so hey, see what I can do now, like I can still do all this stuff and I can do it well, and look how special I am, so it was like this constant having to do. It seemed like I put more pressure on myself.
Yes.
Not from anybody, it was from myself.
Yes.
Would you say the same thing happened to you?
I would say that, but I think it was more of a subconscious thing where somewhere inside you feel like you have to do as much as the next person does, even though you have this disease, and you almost want to hide that you have it. You just want to keep up with everyone, and I think we do it subconsciously, but there's danger in that, because you drive yourself until you either have an attack, or whatever, or you're exhausted. And it comes over time. You learn these things through year after year of experience. And you say, oh, if I had only done it differently, but now I know. So that's one of the big things, is doing too much.
And doing too much, what happens? Like, if you didn't do everything that you set out to do, then what would it mean about you? Because that's what... There's this like underlying, subconscious belief that you have to be a certain way. Like for me, my whole life, my whole work, my life's work was, trying to change the story of I'm not good enough, because that was my story. I'm not good enough. So for me with the MS, it was like, oh, now I'm really not good enough, because now I'm defective. I have this thing. Yeah. So now I got to do all this extra stuff to prove that I am good enough. So there's always like that thing under. Mm-hmm. Like for you, what would you like? So how was it for you?
For me, my kids were young, and so you have all these other moms, and you have the room mom, and doing the volunteer work at school, and you want to keep up to show that you're there for your kids. In my case. And I just kept doing and doing and doing and doing until...
But if you didn't show up?
If I didn't, I would be less than these other people that had families and were cooking dinner for their families at night and being there for their children and going to the football games and the baseball games and the cheerleading. I would feel less than if I did not keep up with them. But I don't think it was conscious. I was just on automatic. Mm-hmm. And I never wanted anyone to know that I had MS. So that's an added burden also, because you have to find out ways to keep that from everyone knowing.
And we didn't, that's a big thing actually that I wrote about, is the shame that comes sometimes with the diagnosis. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people with MS who do hide it, don't talk about it, don't want to talk about it, don't want people to know. Yeah. I was right out with it in the beginning, but there is times when I do feel a shame, and it's not it's more of like I can't do certain things.
Yeah.
You know, like my family will go to Universal Studios in the parks and Disney, and I can't do it. Unless it's super cold out, I cannot do it.
Yeah.
I get so fatigued. I'm miserable. I'm in pain. I just can't do it. So they go without me, and they know that. But in the beginning, those are the types of things. Or like my kids would, when they were little, they'd want me to go and sit outside while they would ride their bicycle.
Yeah.
I can't go sit outside in the hot sun in Florida. And within 5 minutes, as you know, we're like, imagine I just drank 3 martinis and I'm like this. Well, that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
The sun the heat zaps your energy. You feel fatigued. You can't move right. You can't speak right. You just can't function. So for me, it was like, I can't go outside. I'm so sorry. I can't go watch you on your bicycle.
But wouldn't you do it anyway?
Yeah.
In the beginning?
Yeah.
Because you don't want your kids to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where, and you have to say no, or you have to be able to say, these are my limitations, and be okay that you have limitations. I think that you and I probably fought the fact that we had limitations, and we're like, oh no, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you pay for it, because you do. You're affected, and your symptoms flare up.
Yeah.
But the shame, to come back to shame, that was for me, that the shame of, I'm not the mom, the mother that I always thought I was going to be. So that's where I was holding shame. You know, so I had to let go of that I'm not going to be that mom, because I can't. I'll be the greatest mom I can possibly be with what I have, but I'm not going to be that mom, you know.
Right. The one that you envision yourself.
Right.
And for me, my career I was a flight attendant. So for 17 years, I was walking all over the United States, and all of a sudden that was kind of taken away from me. I suddenly had limits. And that was just as much detrimental to me, because I lost my career. So now I'm not good enough in that area, and I'm not good enough here being the mom that I need to be, and the wife, because I don't want to cook dinner that night or whatever. I'm too tired. So, but now looking back, I wish I would have just owned it and hired help, or found ways to work around it, instead of, I can do it, I can do it all.
So for all of you out there who have MS, you don't have to do it alone. It's okay to ask for help.
That's huge.
It is. And that was, you know, I speak a lot about the gifts of MS. Like for me, after the grieving, after the depression, I moved into always wanting to look, what are the gifts? Why is this in my life? You know, how can I use this to help others, and how can I help myself, and how can I find the gifts? And one of the gifts was, for the first time in my life, I was able to ask for help without feeling bad or without feeling guilty.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to say no without feeling guilty. Because I think there's a lot of moms and women also who will say no, but they feel guilty.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's saying no, but without the guilt.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
And the other thing that brings guilt is, there's so many methods to, there's the food method and the medicine method and all kinds of ways to counteract this disease. And when people are telling you, you should do this and you should do that, you have this, and if you don't do this but you do that, you feel guilty and you're not sure. You need to find and navigate through all of it and decide what works for you, because we're all different.
All different.
And when you find what works for you, that's all that matters.
Right.
And you just have to do that. Because if you, let's say you choose the food thing and you don't do it 100%,
Yeah.
right? Then there's the guilt of, you know, I didn't do it right, now I'm going to have an attack. You can get really caught up in all these methods. You have to, even if you have to take and choose from different areas, a little of this and a little of that, whatever is your system that works for you, and anybody else's opinion doesn't matter.
Right. And you know, it's funny, in the beginning, within the first, I think, 6 months after being diagnosed, Dr. Seliger was my doctor, and I went to his office and I'm crying and I'm like so upset, and And I said, I'm trying to be the perfect MS patient. And he goes, well, that's your problem, because you're trying to be perfect at it. And like you said, I was trying to do the food 100%. I was trying to exercise. I was trying to get my sleep. I was trying to reduce my stress. But all of that was stressing me out, actually. And I wasn't willing to accept that the moods and the depression could be caused by the MS, that I was going to be able to fix that, you know. And he's like, we don't know, you know, it's, you have lesions in your brains, you have lesions here, you have lesions there, they do all kinds of stuff, you know. So
they
it
do
was
whatever they want.
So it was about accepting first, to just be okay with, okay, like I need support, I can't do it all by myself, and I'm not going to do it perfectly. And with the food is a huge thing with MS, because some things you'll read, it's the paleo diet. Other things is, you know, you cannot have any dairy, because dairy is an inflammatory food. So you want to stay away from anything that creates inflammation. Then there's, which other diets? Like, I don't even know all of them, because there's another one, the Swank, is it the Swank diet or something? Anyways.
McDougall, Swank,
Yeah, and what did you decide to do with food?
The first thing I came across the day I went to Barnes & Noble was the Swank Diet. That was the book that was on the shelf. And I followed that as well as I could. I have a terrible sweet tooth, but I followed that the best I could. And what I've decided after all these years regarding the food, because like you said, there's all different things. I love ice cream. Dairy is not part of this equation. So, but I don't deprive myself. If I want one ice cream cone, I'm gonna have it.
Right.
But anyway, what I decided after all this falling off the wagon, getting back on, it's just been experience after experience. I remember a man who had MS for less amount of time than I did, maybe 4 or 5 years. He was a friend's husband. And I was on the food kick. It was the first few years, and I was preaching to him about the food, and yes, it's beneficial. But the man was in a wheelchair, and because we're all different, that might not have been something that would have worked for him completely the way that I was preaching it. I was like, oh no, you can't eat that, and you can't drink that. And I was terrible.
And we become experts.
And now that I know, I would never do that to someone. And I've also been in the position of being in the wheelchair. And if anybody came at me and tried to tell me, you need to do this, this, and this, I wouldn't take to it very easily. So I've learned it's kind of etiquette or something. I don't know.
Well, you're into, like for me with the food, because I eat 90 to 95% vegan. But that's by choice. It's not like, oh my God, I have to, or if I don't, I'll get sick, blah, blah, blah. But over the years, like I used to not have dairy at all. Now I have it here and there. You know, it doesn't make a difference. I've tried so many things with diets, and I'm very in tune with my body, so I know when something doesn't feel good or feels good, you know, if I eat a certain way or not. But nothing makes a difference in my symptoms. The only thing that makes a difference in my symptoms is stress, heat, lack of sleep. That's it. That's it. So everything else, look, everyone should eat healthy. You know, you're going to feel better. You're going to be healthier. So of course, everyone should exercise. I mean, you know,
the basics.
So the basics, exactly. But when it comes to MS and saying what's going to be my treatment plan, how am I going to eat, what kind of exercise should I do, you have to follow your gut. You have to test things out, and if you try to do it perfectly, you're going to stress yourself out, and which then affects the MS more. One of the things, and I know I shared this with you probably years ago, I had read Anita Morjani's book, Dying to Be Me. And what I learned from her, which is so awesome, she had cancer, she was dying of cancer, and she was from India, grew up in China or with a Chinese nanny, and went to British Catholic schools or something. But she was exposed to all these different cultures. And one of the things she said in her book was, when she got cancer, she was like, well, if I follow the Ayurvedic way,
Yeah.
then I got to eat this way. If I'm in America and I'm diagnosed with cancer,
Yeah.
I got to eat this way.
Right.
If I'm in China and I'm diagnosed with cancer, I get to eat pork. So there's not one right way. The right way is how it's going to work for you. And one of the things she said though in that book was, you know, she was eating microbiotic before she got cancer.
Yes.
And she was eating that way because she was afraid to get cancer, right? So I think for me, because I work with emotions, it's the emotion and the fear itself is probably what created it in the first place.
Emotions are huge.
And so what I realized is I was eating super healthy. Then I was like making smoothies and juices every day, and I had to have my kale every day. And if I missed a day of kale, it's like, oh my God, I didn't have my kale today. I'm going to get worse, you know. And then I realized there was so much fear in my eating healthy.
Yes, that does
so
not work.
I had to switch. I'm like, no more. So now it was like, if I'm going to make a green drink or I choose to put nutrition in my body.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or if you choose
and if I
to
want
eat an ice cream cone,
if I want an ice cream cone,
you can't do it with guilt. You have to do it with pleasure.
Yes. It's about not depriving yourself.
Yes.
And it's about tuning into, because look, most people, especially as you get older, if something gives you indigestion, you know. You know what I mean? Or if you feel like lethargic after a certain meal, you know it's affecting you. You know, most people know what foods affect them if they pay attention. So you just have to follow that.
My staple thing for the food these days, which I think is a huge blanket thing, you know when you have Thanksgiving dinner and you eat and you eat and you eat all those different combinations and you need to go take a nap because your body is working so hard to digest it, right? So if I have a day where I've eaten like that poorly, the next day I will fast pretty much. I will eat hardly anything or eat very light because you have to honor your body, the process. And I don't know that I know sometimes it's healthy food versus junk food, but it's also about how much you're putting in, you're giving your body to deal with. Because it can deal with a lot, but you know, it has its limits. So I kind of gauge that on my daily intake of what I'm putting in, how I'm going to eat the next day or not eat.
Well, I know they say that the people that live the oldest are the people that eat the less.
The less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
it's true. It's very true.
Look, if you don't eat a super clean diet, there's toxins in the foods. There's all kinds of stuff. There's hormones. There's so many things that we're taxing our bodies with.
Yes.
So I love that you brought that up because it's true. It's like, how much stress are you going to put on your body by choosing, by eating certain things?
And if you have two items, this ice cream and that ice cream, some of those have 20 ingredients. Yeah, right. They have 20 ingredients. Or you look at the back of this ice cream carton, it has 5 ingredients.
Right.
Or cookies. There's cookies now that have 5 ingredients, and then these cookies have 1 million ingredients.
Right.
Obviously, 100% the best thing is to eat whole foods. Make your diet 80% whole foods.
Right.
And that's from the ground, but when you have the treats, look at what's in there.
And enjoy them.
And enjoy it. But pick the one with less ingredients or with things you can pronounce.
Right.
Than taxing your body with these things and who knows what it is. So that's kind of how I
So would you say that how you eat, like for me, it makes me feel confident when I do eat healthy?
It does.
It does make me feel good. It's like, I put nutrition in my body and I, did the right thing.
And part of that's mental because you're putting healthy, nutritious food in. I feel good when I eat a treat though, just as good. So it's about balance, right? And the whole foods are so important that you really have to make that dominate your diet. But you can't be so strict that you can't allow. And again, I'm going to use that word perfection. Yeah.
When you try to be perfect at anything, first of all, no one's perfect. There's nothing that's perfect, and it will only create stress.
Yeah.
And the more that you tune in, so I I'm big into embodiment because I teach journey dance, and in journey dance we learn, it's a conscious movement practice where you move from your head to your heart and you're in your body, and when you're fully in your body, you are in tune with any signs or anything that your body's telling you. Like, have you ever had a twitch in your face, you know, your eye or your cheek or something? Usually it means that you're lacking sleep. You didn't get enough sleep the night before, you know. Or some people get, you know, spasms in their neck or their back from stress at work or the way they're sitting. So when you become very in tune, it's like, oh, okay, my legs are tingling, my legs are burning, and for me, that's one of my signs. It's one of my, like, oh, what's going on here?
Right.
What am I thinking? You know, what am I thinking in this moment, creating that? Because most of the stress that we create is from our minds.
For sure.
So it's the thoughts we have, the judgments we have about something, how we are perceiving a situation. Because look, you could just be driving. We're in freaking South Florida here. The traffic is like outrageous these days. I don't know what's going on, but it's everywhere. And you're sitting in traffic, and I get symptoms. I get burning in my feet and my legs. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get done what I thought I was going to get done, et cetera, right? So it's really the thoughts. If I could just sit there and be completely present, right, in my car, listening to the music.
Or blast some music.
You know, and whatever it is.
Yeah.
But not have the thoughts about what this means or what this could mean, you know, being late or making a mistake or
Yeah.
then I can calm my body.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's all up here.
It's so much up there, and we just happen to have sensitive bodies.
Right.
But like even in the car, I listen to books on tape.
Right.
And you have to figure out how to counteract it.
So what would you say are your top 3 tools or things that you do for yourself to feel good about yourself with MS and to feel confident?
Well, on the days that are not such good days, a lot of times I become a little reclusive for a day or two because if I find myself noticing, you know, someone wearing high heels or someone working out at the gym, if I start getting wrapped up in that, or if I made a trip to the grocery store and I wore myself out, that can keep building and building and wear you down. So I've learned at that time when I feel myself getting overwhelmed, because I know it can only go downhill from there, I turn around and I go seclude myself, I rest, I just do nice things for myself, almost like when you have the flu, you know, or a cold, and you kind of wrap yourself up in a blanket and watch TV and take care of yourself. I kind of nurture myself a little bit. But I've only over all these years, come to realize when that's about to happen, right? You know when you're starting to go downhill.
Right.
And I just flip it. And I treat myself as if I'm sick or I have a cold or I want to take care of myself. Music is a huge thing for me. I used to walk in the park a lot, and I would wear my headphones and listen to either books on tape or music, because it makes me, it's almost like a meditation. It makes me tune everything else out.
And it is.
And it's a very important thing.
It's a moving meditation.
Right? And I can't do that walking anymore, but I'll go sit down somewhere and I'll put the music on really loud, and it's like nothing else exists. Or I'll put the book on really loud and nothing else, and it's very important to do that. It's important to meditate. I'm not one that can sit quietly. My mind doesn't stop, but if I tune everything out with the music, it works for me.
And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people have a hard time doing the type of meditation where you just sit and you're quiet and you try to have no thoughts. There's many ways to meditate, and it doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah.
You can do movement meditation. This is why I love journey dance. Journey dance is a movement meditation. You get out of your head into your body, but with movement and music. So for you, movement and music. So you were walking, listening to music.
Because I'm concentrating on the music. I'm not thinking about what I have to do and problems and all that.
And there's also, I have a great app that I use. It's a brainwave app. It's called 32 binaural programs. And it will, you can set it to whatever you want. So like if you want to do meditation, if you want to relax, if you want to focus, if you want to sleep deeply, if you want to have dreams while you're sleeping. I mean, there's like 32, and it works. It's like hysterical because I use it every night for the deep sleep. Mm-hmm. And once in a while I put the dreamy sleep on. And the next day I remember all my dreams. I'm like, oh, yeah, I had dreams last night.
Oh my God.
So, but it really, it brings the brain waves to the different, like there's alpha, data, and I can't remember all of them right now, but it brings it to where you need it to have it for relax, meditation, sleep. So if you can't meditate this way, get an app, put that on. You can put it on while you're doing something.
But it's testimony to the fact that we have the power and resources to manipulate what's going on here.
Yes.
Things don't have to happen to us.
Right.
We can manipulate it and guide it how we want it. You can put that music on and get what you want.
Right. And to do that, you have to be conscious and aware.
Yes, and it makes you feel in control because you're
there's that
doing
control
it.
Again.
Well, because
but if you're going to be in control of anything, then you should be in control of that.
Right. And I was reading on this list that you have here, and people feel like it's unpredictable. MS is it's happening to you.
Yes.
But that doesn't have to be.
Right. So I printed out this thing. It says community thoughts on what MS means to me, and people that are part of this community. This was on a group, I think, on the internet, and they just replied like one word as to what MS means to them, and it's really scary and upsetting. All these words, I will read some of them to you, but there's too many to read. There's 70, right? So for some people, it's unpredictable, cruel, frustrating, crap, perseverance, debilitating, frightening, torture, monster, tiring, scary, blurriness, changes, balance, pain, redirection, fatigue, strength, hopelessness, traumatic, debilitating, sad, horrible, compromising, menacing, confusing, weakness, uncontrollable, schizo, detour, life-changing, ever-changing. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So this is how people feel. This is what this disease makes you feel like on those bad days. And, one of the things that I don't, there's a lot of people who have MS or have had like an episode and then that goes away. Like some people will have the blindness and that's how they get diagnosed, but then it never comes back and it's gone. That's it. Right. They don't have any other symptoms. And then there's people like you and I who, I always say I have my bucket of symptoms that I live with daily. It's my vision, it's my balance, it's fatigue, it's bladder, it's bowels, it's what else? And neuropathy. And those are every single day. And so, we all have our challenges. Someone may look at me and say, well, you look like there's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
But we never know what's going on in someone else's body or mind. Yeah. But we covered some good stuff today. We have a lot more to cover. Yeah. This went by really fast, but I hope you got some good tips. Be more mindful. Put on some music when you are finding yourself that your thoughts are creating stress for yourself. Reduce your stress as much as possible. And tune into your body and find out what works for you with the food and whatever treatment you want to go for. So thank you for being here. I look forward to next week again. We'll talk some more about this, and we'll see you then. Have a good one.